Welcome to the Rude Dude Cast. Rude Cast!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 182 of the Rude Dude Cast. It's your boy, BMT, and Dr. Dan,
It's
from
me.
the dead.
Back from the dead. Well, it's episode 182, so we had to stay together for the kids, and
And by kids, he means
terrible reference.
yeah, we are back to. There's a great Blink-182 reference there. We are back for
well,
a
it's all
very
the small
special
things that matter,
Yeah. And I don't even know what's my age again anymore. But we're going to be talking about Amazon Prime's Paper Girls. That's right. We are going to we brought back the Rude Dude Cast for 10 very special episodes to cover Paper Girls on Amazon Prime, which is premiering on Friday, July 29th, 2022. This is a little intro to to some newer fans, some of the new listeners who are coming in here because you found us because of Paper Girls, and welcome back to our faithful listeners over the last 7 years of the Rude Dude Cast.
Who may remember when we used to cover the Paper Girls comic book back in the day.
Right, back in the day. So, what better than two men in their 30s to talk about a comic book written by two men in their 40s about four women, 12-year-old women from the 80s. But I'm very excited. This is just an intro to the show, intro to the cast. It's going to be keep it short and sweet. Basically, we're going to bring you 10 episodes about, we're going to try to keep it under 40 minutes about recapping the episodes, but not so much a recap, just talking about like what the themes were about Paper Girls, some, comparisons to the comic book, stuff like that. But basically, let me give you a rundown of what Paper Girls is about, and then Dan will take it from there. So Paper Girls is a mystery science fiction comic book written by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Cliff Chang, published by Image Comics. It came out in 2015 and ended in 2019 with issue 30. Paper Girls, the comic book, follows the story of four 12-year-old newspaper delivery girls, Erin, Mac, KJ, and Tiffany, set in Stony Stream, a fictional suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. As they're out delivering papers on the morning after Halloween, the town is struck by an invasion of mysterious force of the future. The girls become unwillingly caught up in the conflict between two warring factions of time travelers. The series began October 7th, 2015 and concluded July 31st, 2019. Wow. And a television adaptation was announced in July of 2019, and it was greenlit last year, and it is live now. All 8 episodes, I believe they're about 1 hour episodes, have dropped on Amazon Prime today, July 29th, when we're recording this. So that's basically it. Kind of, a precursor to Stranger Things in story, but, a kids on their bike 80s story.
Right. The Paper Girls comic book came out before Stranger Things, and as soon as when did Stranger Things season 1 come out? Like probably that same year.
2016? 2016, yeah.
So like I remember thinking, watching the first season of Stranger Things, being like, oh man, if they ever made a Paper Girls show, it would probably be a lot like this. And because just it was around that time we were reading the comic book. It's so weird to think about like Paper Girls coming before Stranger Things.
Right, July 15th, 2016. So 1 year after Paper Girls started, basically.
Yeah.
Similar
in nature,
So I'm sure if you're listening to this, you saw the trailer or you read the comic books. Dan, what were your initial thoughts of the trailer for Paper Girls?
I have well, my even before I saw the trailer, like once I knew that like wow, I keep calling it Stranger Things. The Paper Girls show was gonna be like right around the corner. I was thinking like, okay, Paper Girls show. Listen, maybe some spoilers here. If you don't want to know anything about it, like if you haven't read the comic book and don't want to know anything about it, maybe just like, skip ahead a few seconds. But there's a lot of like special effects stuff that would be kind of like high budget to cover in the show. And so like my initial thought was like, okay, first you have to nail the casting. Like obviously you got to cast the right four little girls, the four little kids. Like you got to nail the casting. Second, you have to nail the special effects because there's like spoilers, skip ahead, fucking many like kaiju fights. There are gigantic monsters fighting over futuristic cityscapes. So like that's something that if you don't like put the right amount of budget into, it's gonna look like shit and the show's gonna suck. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So that's like where my thought went, like even before I saw the trailer. Now, they don't show any of that kind of stuff in the trailer too much, so we don't really have any indication of like how the special effects is like the real important special effects stuff is actually gonna look. So those are like kind of my concerns going into it. Is like how is that stuff gonna come across? And like visually, I think they kind of like maybe nailed the casting. I think like Erin, the main character, is like just at a glance, like looks just like the girl from the comic book.
Yeah. So if the comic books is very much like splattered in like 80s kind of like sunset vibe, I would say.
Yeah,
If
it
you were
looks
listening
like,
to like a synthwave image,
yes,
like retro wave kind of music, like Stranger Things vibes for the most part. What I do think was cool about the comic though is that since it is a little bit about a lot about time traveling, we do start in the 80s and go back and forth a lot.
They're jumping all over the map at
But
times,
they don't like sugarcoat like the 80s as being like this awesome, wonderful time. This is the late
Nope.
80s, so things were kind of very similar to now.
Yeah.
And I think what what at the core the comic book is about four girls at the turning point of their life at 12. When you're 12 years old, this is where you kind of start figuring out who you are as a person, who your friends are, and just like what how you're going to be in life in a sense. You find a little bit more identity at 12. And I think the comic, even though it's really just like about adventuring, it's at the core about like these four girls, the adventures and the war around them is happening, but it's really a story about the characters. And I think that is something that I look forward to the show to expand on, because in my hopes and dreams of the show, it fixes some of the things wrong with the comic books. I love the comics, but there was a very big part of the middle where it's just meandering adventure with a lot of no explanation. Getting ready for this podcast, I went back and did a little like skimming through the issues, and I remember there just being like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? And that happened for a long time. And then they would give you like a little bit, and every issue ended with a cliffhanger, which is cool. It's a comic book. But nothing was really answered for a long time. And we just kept getting a lot of questions. But I think, this being 8 episodes, trying to capture a new audience, probably an audience that hasn't read the books. I think what I look forward to is them diving deeper into the characters. And I'm really interested in looking to see what the director, her name, or the creator, Stephanie Folsom, does with the source material, because it was written by men, and this is a woman taking it on. So I'm excited to see what she does with it, because it can only get better, I believe, in the hands of a woman, especially because it is such like material is all about like growing up and growing pains,
growing up
which
as
is
a
the name of
12-year-old girl.
which is the name of the first episode.
Growing up.
Yeah, growing up. Episode 1 is called Growing Up. And then, we get Weird Al is dead. Blue Tongues Don't Lie. It Was Never About the Corn. A New Period. Matinee. Some Kind of Burping Trash Hole. And It Be Over. All of these are dropping at once. We are kind of, going to be tackling this podcast as a review or a discussion of each episode we're gonna kind of just drop them as we watch them, probably every few
Drop 'em
days.
as we watch them.
There's not really gonna be set schedule, the way
Just
that
look for the episodes. Just look.
just look for them. They'll be on YouTube, back in your Apple podcast. So if you already listen to us, you'll be there. So
Yeah.
if you're still subscribed, if you're not watching on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, we are going to be in other platforms. Hopefully, Spotify.
We're gonna
and a couple other
attempt
things.
Spotify. We don't know if that's gonna 100% work, but we're gonna try to attempt to get ourselves on Spotify for the first time ever.
Right. So because the podcast has like been going on for a while, we always just on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud and YouTube. So now we're going to try to expand a little bit more because we're hopefully
No
gonna,
sound. We were never on SoundCloud actually. Well,
okay.
the first
Only
episode was on
episode
Sound.
one. Yeah.
Only episode 1 was on SoundCloud. There is a Rude Dude Cast SoundCloud account that I suggest you go explore. You can just look for
It's
that
just
yourself.
basically
Go find
our
them.
advertisers.
Yeah.
So welcome. Like again, I've said I'm Dan. I'm Dan. I'm BMT.
I'm
That's
Mike Terry.
Dan. We're gonna review. We're looking forward to reviewing Paper Girls on Amazon Prime. So please follow us on Instagram, Facebook at the Rudocast. Dan, you got anything else you want to say? We're trying to keep this intro short.
Yeah, that's it, man. We'll
when
be
when are you
back
planning
for,
on watching this today? You're gonna watch episode
Yeah, I'm gonna
1?
watch it. I'll watch it later today. Once my dog falls asleep, I'll go watch episode 1.
Do not skip ahead. 1 episode at a time.
1 episode a day. No, that's all I really can handle for like TV shows these days. My binging days are long gone.
Dude, especially with shows like Westworld and shit. Like, I don't know how.
Westworld.
Westworld is interesting though, because if you did binge watch it, it probably makes a lot more sense because there's so much that's been, some of these things that have happened are like 4 years old in real time.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to
true.
remember back. But if you
True.
binge watch Westworld, it's like, oh yeah, that's actually Dolores and not really this person. Blah 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 blah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, not to get into Westworld.
I like when it comes to that show, I like to just stew on 1 episode for a week. You know what I mean? I just
you got it.
marinate.
But if you did binge it, you would definitely understand what the fuck is going on now. So
Definitely, yeah.
So yeah, Paper Girl. So if you like Stranger Things and the Goonies, basically, I always called Paper Girls. It's the Goonies with all girls with time traveling. Like that's like what it is.
I hope it comes across that way because my fear is, we talked about like what are your expectations. My fear for it is that it comes across like a Disney Channel show. That's what I don't want to see. That's like my biggest concern.
Oh yeah, but before we jump off, right? In rereading the book, there is some harsh language and some really deep topics like home life problems, like gender and sexuality in the 80s.
Yes.
Just like really heavy, not heavy themes, but themes that are like real life themes. And the language is pretty coarse. But based on the trailer, it seemed like this was very much geared towards young teens.
Yeah.
Like maybe the Riverdale crew of people where like an adult could watch it, but it's definitely like aimed towards that. But we'll see, because Stranger Things was sort of the same thing.
The cast was so young in Stranger Things season 1 that I remember almost feeling weird watching it, being like, am I too old for this? But then no, because it becomes clear that like the show is geared towards adults. I mean, not just adults. Like you could be young and watch Stranger Things, but Stranger Things is very much, I would say, like a teenage to like someone in their 40s, like that. I don't want to say 18 to 49 because I feel like someone much younger than 18 can watch Stranger Things and get into it. So like what, like 13 to 50?
Sure, yeah.
You know? And so like I'm hoping that Paper Girls is that way and it's not just for like the high school crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My sister's a little bit older than me, and so I'm going to try to get her to watch Paper Girls because she's always into things that are like Stranger Things and stuff like that. And I want to see what it's like from her point of view since she didn't read it. And since she is like part of the Disney crew of she'll watch like a lot of shows that are for way younger audiences. I wonder what somebody like her will think. And then in the same vein, I wonder what other people who have never heard or do this at all, like just might find it on Amazon. The trailer got 16 million views. There is a ton of press that they're doing right now around Comic-Con with the actors. I'm hoping that it captures some of the magic that was in the comic book and expands on it much more. There's been comic book adaptations that have done really well. like Umbrella Academy, where they were based off of very few issues, or Walking Dead, which has gone completely, in a certain direction.
Finally
Yeah.
ending, by the way.
So
But
I'm excited to
getting
see.
splintering off into 10 more shows. But yeah,
Totally. But I'm excited to see where what they do with the source material and how they grow upon it. And you know, I think this is going to be carried on by the actors. There's four main characters, uh, and then some ancillary characters. Not really a huge cast of like main characters or anything. So with that, we are the Rude Dude Cast. This is the Amazon Prime Paper Girl Special, Episode 1. So with that, I think
my friend just texted me and he was like, "Dude, they made a Paper Girls TV show." I'm like, "We're recording the podcast about it right now." I was sending him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Anyway, I'm Dan. You can find me on social media at Mandaronius, MANDARRONIOUS. No underscore, no space anymore. So Instagram, Twitter. I mostly post pictures of my pets. You can find me there. Mike Terry, where can we find you?
Jukeboxromantics.com, at Jukeboxromantics on Instagram. That's my band. It's mainly what I do when we're not consuming media and playing with my child and dog.
Very good. We'll catch you for the next episode. Top guys out.
Out.